And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
What's up, RBLR Nation? Welcome to this week's edition of RBLR Bucs. Hope y'all are excited to get into these topics. If you're not, as long as you're not excited about the result from this past weekend, but we'll get into that. I'd like to first introduce our co-host, my boy Zach Blaine, filling in for us. Say hello to the people for us, Zach.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today, Carter?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Man, I got about 11 minutes before Miami Heat basketball kicks off, so I'm doing great today.
Yep, I got 11 minutes till the Pelicans play, so I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right. And other than Zach, we also got my boy Santiago. How you doing, Santiago? I see you rocking the Rays hat. How you feeling?
Yeah, man. What's going on? What's up, RBLR Nation? How's everyone doing? I know this week was horrible. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get into this right now and break this down. Hopefully we can turn this around, fellas. Let's go. Let's go on this pirate ship. Let's go. Let's go, Bucs.
Yeah. Oh, man. A rough week indeed. Obviously just an awful game against an awful team. It was no disrespect to the Steelers, but they were 1-4 going into the game. They were near the bottom of the barrel in pretty much every major football statistical category. So going in, we all thought gimme game. It was just an easy coast of a victory. The Steelers were missing both of their starting cornerbacks, T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Tom Brady in this offense was literally facing a practice squad secondary. We all thought, gimme game, but Bucs go out. They play flat and they lose 20-18. Tom Brady gets outplayed by not only Mitch Trubisky but also Kenny Pickett. So it's just a very pathetic performance. It's just the one where you just wish they would have donated all their game checks to an actual fair cause. Awful stuff. Initial thoughts. Is there anything good that can be taken from this game? If not, go ahead and continue my little, angry rant. Zach, what's the overall thoughts of this game?
So before we get into all that, I would like to point out, how you kind of pointed out how I was saying Baker Mayfield was going to be like good this season, and I think that Santiago and I both gave Pittsburgh a little bit of credit, saying it was going to be a close game. And you said that we were giving them too much credit.
You got me there.
But no, realistically, yeah. I mean, you said it perfect. I can't pick up anything that was solid from this game. We are, again, you said it about having their practice squad secondary, and our number one receiver got targeted 4 times. Like, how can we? You can't win a game with your best player being Mike Evans getting 4 targets for 42 yards. That's not a solid way to play the game. And I think the only bright spot, and I'm sure Santiago is gonna hit on it because he was talking them up last week, was Ryan Suckup. I mean, he kept us in this game. Him and our defense kept us in this game.
Yeah, gentlemen, I agree. Obviously, I want to give a shout out to what Carter said earlier. Yeah, I'm rocking the Rays hat right here, rocking Team Tampa Bay, you know what I'm saying? And just flying that flag. Talking about what Zach just said. Yeah, and actually Zach predicted closely the score. It was a reverse. He actually predicted 21-17 Bucs winning, but it ended up being Pittsburgh winning 20-18. Wow, that's unbelievable. The reason why, I gave the score that I gave, close is because it's sad to say there's really no confidence, I mean, like we're not scoring, it's frustrating. Like the word frustrating is heavy right now, and it's not right. Like, like what Carter just said, 1-4, we could have put them even more in a bad situation by going 1-5, but no, we gave them kind of a life, and now we're 3-3, and it's I still believe that, we can still make it to the playoffs, but obviously our main goal is to go win a championship. You know what I'm saying? Because Tom Brady is the GOAT. Everybody's been hyping him up, and he is the GOAT for a reason, and I still believe we're going to do something positive. We're going to get out of this. But I really want us to, turn this ship around. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. It's tough. It's tough, fellas. We gotta do something. And Mike Evans, like being, like that. But,
For sure.
what do you think? What do you guys want to talk about? What else do you guys want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it was like Zach and you mentioned. I mean, I have Mike Evans on both of my fantasy teams. It's awful that he had such. Luckily, I won one of my fantasy teams, but I lost the other one. So yeah, I mean, it was a really, really rough showing offensively. Yeah, we'll start there because the offense was so bad because they were playing against such a depleted squad that had been playing so poorly. I mean, they gave up all those points to the Bills, and then they come out and the Bucs can only manage one touchdown. I mean, that's just pretty pathetic. So, I mean, what can be done? I mean, you always want to start up front whenever you talk about football in general. So the offensive line, I mean, clearly we saw the little Brady explosion on the offensive line because, the offensive line's fault that he scored one touchdown in the red zone. But anyways, so what can be done about the offensive line? Todd Bowles seems to think they're just running it back with the squad that they have. I mean, obviously Hainsey and Gadecki have been really, really struggling in their Hainsey's obviously technically a second-year player, but both their first years being full-time starters. So what can be done about their offensive line? Do you think free agency, trade options, or does the better execution, play calling? Zach, we'll start with you. What can be done to help this offensive line, especially?
Yeah, I think we need to go out and get a guy like Darrell Williams or Eric Fisher out of free agency. They're both a little bit older, but both guys are proven at the NFL level, where guys like Hainsey and Gadecki aren't. And I know Ryan Jensen, it's looking like he's going to come back, but how good is he going to play?
Right. Yeah,
is kind of my concern with it. So I think you go out and get a guy like Darrell Williams, like Eric Fisher, and fill them into that role. I don't think play calling is going to help our offense at this point or different play calling, I should say, because we wanted to come in and be a run heavier team this year. Mm-hmm. And we're averaging like 3.4 or 3.5 yards per carry. And last game against Pittsburgh, we averaged 3. It's just when you sign a guy to a 3-year contract like Leonard Fournette got, you can't expect him to come in and run the ball for 3 yards a carry. That's not successful. That's not going to produce what we need it to produce in this league.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the yards per carry. That's right on the nose. They're last. They're last in yards per attempt. And they have 2 rushing touchdowns, which tied for last. So, yeah, absolutely. Nail on the head. Santiago, how are you feeling about the offensive line? You kind of with maybe a free trade or something, or how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, we need something, right? I mean, yeah, like I'm amazed how Ryan Suckup has just, took it on his shoulders and nailed it almost every single punt that's there. And I talk about him a lot, right? But and Tom Brady, he was chewing out the offensive line on the sideline. He's like, "Come on, fellas, like, what are you guys doing?" You know what I mean? Like, hopefully, with him saying that to them, like this, we're going to be, hopefully the mindset can change. If it has to be free agency and, those players that, Zach, just, there's, now that if they're available and they're something that we need, let's get them. We need something. We definitely need something.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, like Zach mentioned, Darrell Williams specifically. There's Matt Paredes from the Panthers last year that could be interesting. I'm thinking you got to replace one or the other. They maybe don't necessarily have the cap space to replace both. But, yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles seemed to be convinced otherwise. So, I don't know. It's definitely going to be tough sledding moving forward just because you kind of waiting on Ryan Jensen maybe. But who knows? Like Zach, you don't know how well he's going to play. You don't know how healthy he's going to be. You don't know how long it's going to take. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, not just the offensive line, this kind of goes hand in hand with that, and with the running game being so bad, I mean, the passing game, I mean, it's just been dry. There seems to be a lack of creativity. I mean, there was a play in the red zone specifically. The red zone struggles have been atrocious, but yeah, there was a play where, it was a play action, and then Brady faked the handoff, and it seemed like no one ran a route. And it was like, what y'all doing? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Do y'all think if Brady didn't attend that wedding on Friday that they would have ran those routes? Talking about that wedding, but it's just hilarious. So I mean, what's there? I mean, is the passing game so dry because they don't think Brady has enough time? I mean, is it exclusively the play calling? How do they kind of breathe some life into the offense, specifically in the passing game? Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, see, so that to me leads back to the 3.2 or whatever yards per carry.
Right, for sure.
Why is a team if the team that we're playing knows that we can't run the ball effectively, why are they going to let up on pass defense, knowing that we have to pass the ball?
Right.
You had mentioned maybe trades and stuff, and it kind of with the news of Cam Akers coming out and not being really on the team anymore and wanting out of LA, I think a guy like that who hasn't been able to really prove himself in the league yet, but has has shown glimpses of really excellence, if that's not too much to credit to give him, a guy like that who I think could potentially give us more yards per carry and would be a good tandem with Leonard Fournette, could maybe get defenses to bite a little more on the run fakes and will open up our pass game long term.
Okay, so you think that maybe the way to breathe some life into this offense, maybe trade for Cam Akers? That's interesting. I haven't really heard many people mention that, but I find that very intriguing because Keyshawn Vaughn, I mean, where has he been? Like, we haven't seen really him at all. So it's
Exactly.
Todd White and Leonard Fournette, and we all have seen how that's gone. So, yeah, maybe just do in the backfield. Santiago, how about you? How do you feel about how to breathe some life into this offense?
Man, it's just I want to, we have to, and when I was, analyzing the stats for, what happened this past game, I mean, we were pretty much, positive in stats. I mean, we really were, but it's just, again, Suckup went 4 for 4. The longest field goal he had in the game was a 54-yarder. And, then that one touchdown from Brady. And poor, Cam Brate, he went down with a scary injury. That is another player that's on the is injured right now. Like, he had a neck, he had an injury with his neck. Like, man, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. Like, it was a scary, anytime a player gets stretchered off the field, like it's, that's not good because, I mean, we're really, I mean, we have other tight ends, and it's tough, man. It's really, really tough. I can't say really much because it's bad everywhere. I mean, it really is.
Right.
It's I want a leader, man. I really want a leader out there. You know what I mean? Like, I think Suckup's doing a good job, with his field goals, and then Brady's trying to do as much as he can, but everybody else is like letting him down. Like, I mean, come on, guys. We have to like do more in the running game, Keyshawn Vaughn, and you can't just have it on Lenny do it, running it all the time. Like, everybody has Rashad White, he has to step up. Like, it can't always be Mike Evans. Like, Russell Gage was I saw him catch a couple of passes. Like, where's Julio Jones? Like, I mean, he's injured, but I want him to get better. I want him to be coming back playing, like he's a big name.
For sure.
It's just tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's difficult to really pin it on one player because it seems to be kind of a systematic problem with the Bucs, especially like when they get down to the red zone. Because, like you mentioned, they outgained the Pittsburgh Steelers. Neither team committed a turnover, so it just really came down to execution in the red zone. And it seems like in the shortened field, the Bucs have really struggled this season. They just can't seem to punch it in. Can't seem to finish off drives with a touchdown. Which good for Ryan Suckup. He's tallying up the field goals, but that's not a good thing. You don't want to see him get a lot of field goal attempts. You want to see the team score touchdowns. So kind of switching gears here, you don't want to just focus on the offensive struggles because while the defense didn't play awful, we also mentioned there weren't any turnovers from the Steelers. They didn't force they didn't get any takeaways. And with a rookie quarterback like Kenny Pickett, who played the majority of the game, and then Mitchell Trubisky, who finished out the game, you'd at least expect them to get maybe an interception, a forced fumble on a sack or something, but nothing, not a zilch. So, defensively, like we said, they only gave up 20 points, and that's not awful. But yeah, I mean, they gave up so many third and longs. I mean, I swear I've seen the Bucs give up, like, if I had $1 for every time the Bucs gave up a third and long conversion, I feel like that's atrocious.
Exactly.
So I mean, how is that fixed? I mean, their secondary, I get it. They're very much physical. They're very great tacklers, so they're great in the short game. But when they get, they got to run with the wide receivers for a long time. It gets a little tough because Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean ain't fast. But
Yeah, man.
this,
If you have to if you like you said, if you had $1, like you can probably go get a meal. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
exactly.
Like,
Right,
get some
yeah,
gas.
for sure. If I had that much money, I could probably go afford to spend some money on free agency for the Bucs to get a member. But anyways, Zach, we'll start with you. How do we fix these third down conversion problems? Because it really reared its ugly head on.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. I believe there was 4 plays that were longer than 3rd and 10,
Mm-hmm.
and every single one of them resulted in a
Yep.
Pittsburgh Steelers first down.
Correct.
So I think a big part of it is that we had touched on it last week. Our run defense is not that great, so it's kind of tiring out our linebackers, and I think going back into the free agency pool that I've been talking about all episode. I know we don't have a lot of money, but it might be time to cut some of that dead weight and use some of that money somewhere else. And a guy like Alexander Johnson, who played in Denver, a Tennessee guy, is I think a phenomenal option. He's decent in pass coverage and he's very solid in run defense. So I think that is a guy who we could bring in that could help. And as far as our defensive backs go, like you said, we have some slower guys that shouldn't be having to keep up with wide receivers that are fast. Like, it just doesn't work. Right. And I think that's starting to show on those 4th and longs when our 3rd and longs, when we only have 2 sacks all day. It's given Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky had all the time in the world, it seemed like.
For sure. Yeah, the lack of pressure really was noticeable. Yeah, you mentioned only the 2 sacks. Santiago, how are you feeling about it? I mean, how do they kind of on 3rd and long?
3rd and long, yeah, man. That's they were perfect on 4th down, of course, but they're struggling on 3rd down. It's what they have to do is Zach just named a couple of players that the GMs and the ownership group, they should look into, of course. Possibly they are, of course. I mean, but if nothing happens there, like we have to something has to happen. That little chip has to like switch on, be like, hey, it's regular season football. We have to, we're getting paid a lot of money, gentlemen. We're blessed to play this sport. Let's go out there. Let's do something. Let's play. Let's win. We have to win. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I couldn't really, put it out there. I'm not a player. I cannot go play a position, but yeah, it's I want to see, us, do better in the running game, to be honest with you. We have to convert on short, if it's 3rd and 1, man, they have to really make a decision and do a better job with, getting those first downs. Obviously, with, I mean, anything else, Carter, that you want to put?
Yeah, I mean, defensively, you kind of switch gears there into the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they definitely struggled on 3rd down offensively too. But yeah, defensively on the 3rd downs, they really, really had a tough time. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just a disturbing thing to see a lot of the trends that had kind of been happening to begin the season kind of come out to the light. They got some easy wins in their first couple of games. They got to face the Saints and the Cowboys, who were both really banged up, and then they got to face the Falcons and they got bailed out by that roughing the passer. So yeah, so all of these problems were kind of pushed below the surface because they were above 500. They were 3-2, but now play a well-coached team, and all of those problems kind of bubble up and rear their ugly head. So I mean, big picture, this is really just one loss. but the offensive struggles, especially in the red zone. I mean, is there a fix to this? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, there's just something's got to give, because if they continue to struggle in the red zone, they're not going to be good in the playoffs. I mean, it's really starting to become a concern whether or not they win the NFC South. But although, I mean, it's an awful division, but shit, if they keep playing like this, it's really tough to see that light. So Zach, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there a way to kind of fix this? You know, Gronk was such a great red zone target. You know, they're obviously missing him, but Mike Evans is still 6'5". So, what's the fix here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fix is just I feel like I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more. Everyone is just targeted in on Mike Evans at this point, whether it's practice squad guys or not. Like, there's no one else who's a threat realistically in our offense right now. And it kind of, I think having Julio back is going to help that. I think that Julio is going to, I mean, he's another big guy who has been decent in the red zone over his career. So I think that once he comes back and once we're healthier on the offensive line, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I just don't know how bright it's shining right now.
That's a good way of putting it. I love how you mentioned Julio, because, you know, Julio, I feel like, you know, as people who have watched the Bucs for the majority of our lives, we got to watch Julio tear up the Bucs in the red zone. So, you know, he's been hurt a lot this season, and hopefully when he returns, he'll, like you said, he'll be kind of a second threat, because, like you mentioned, they've kind of honed in on Mike Evans, especially in the red zone, because, like I mentioned, he's 6'5". He's an elite wide receiver when he gets down there.
Yeah.
But Santiago, how are you feeling about it? How do they fix these red zone problems?
Yeah, like, you know, I'm sorry, Zach just said, like, you know, Gronk was such a threat, and, you know, we have to, you know, Cam Brate just went down, like I was saying earlier today, and, you know, we have to have Chris Godwin out there. You know, you have to have, Russell Gage, do a better job. Rashad White, Leonard Fournette. You know, you have to have a bunch of all these players. Just, you know, we have so many good players. I mean, from the Super Bowl team, you know what I mean, that came back. You know, it's just a couple players went down. Yeah, we had a center go down, you know, Ryan Jensen. But things happen. You know, people have to adapt. And it's really, really, it's struggling. What can be done? You know, there needs to be yoga, bonding, I guess. I just, you know, like they need something, you know, like something spiritual, go to the beach. Hey, people come to Florida because it's where people want a vacation and stuff. Like, you know, like woosah, come on, guys, let's get spiritual, you know, like change something, you know, like, you know, don't go really partying in the weekends and stuff like that. Take this job serious and let's go. You know what I mean? Let's, you know.
So no more weddings on the Friday before.
No more. Exactly. You don't have to go to a wedding too far away. You know what I mean? Like,
so
it's, you know, like.
I know that we kind of joke about that, and like obviously I don't think missing a walkthrough is a big deal. But Santiago, you had mentioned something earlier. You wanted a leader, and when I look at that, that's not the Tom Brady that I'm used to seeing be our leader. Like, granted, he's going to have days off of practice. He's 42. Like, or what is he, 43 now?
Yeah,
45.
exactly.
45, whatever. He's old as hell. That's all I know.
For sure.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, it's like, in my book, as the face of the franchise, the leader of that team, you know, maybe don't miss those practices. Maybe that's an issue that we're having. I don't think that it's that big of a deal, but in my head, like if I were a teammate of his and I saw him doing that, I'd be like, what the hell is this? Why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of became a little bit of a distraction, I think. I mean, I don't want to say it's the reason they lost. It's not the reason they lost. But, you know, it did contribute to a little bit of a feeling like, well, what's really going on here? You know, he's got all the divorce rumors are swirling around. I mean, he went on some talk show and compared the football season to service.
As a former, like, I know everyone else was freaking out over that. As a former service member, like I was in the Army, I found it hysterical. I was like, I really bet that it is. I bet that it is.
Yeah, tough being paid, $25 million. Your hot model wife. Get a grip. Like, what are we doing here? But, whatever. That's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to see like you mentioned, Zach, it's tough to see your leader kind of take a day off, take so many days off, really. And,
Right?
but yeah, like Santiago mentioned, maybe they need some yoga. Maybe they need to meditate. I've been trying to get into meditation. It's certainly helped my, mental focus and all that. So, maybe they need some of that. But I can tell you what they really need to do. They really need to go on shop.RBLR and get themselves some fresh digs. I mean, I was checking out the shop the other day. It's got some some fly gear. Supporting your local Tampa Bay teams, the Bucs, the Lightning, the Rowdies, the Rays. I think if the Bucs just use shop.RBLR, forget yoga. That's all they need, really. And the links in the description. And Santiago, what I'm about to say. You know what I'm about to say. What's this?
Yes,
promo?
gentlemen. The promo is Cannon, CANNONS. Go to shop.rblrsports.com. Get something for yourself. Get something for you, your family. You know what I mean? For the holidays, any time of the season. Let's go.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
look fly.
for sure. And retail therapy is very much a thing. And with the Bucks playing so poorly, you got to cheer yourself up somehow. Cheer yourself up with a little treat, and that's where you go for it. But yeah, I mean, now we're kind of speaking of the Bucks' poor play. We got to move on to next week because we can't focus on this god awful Steelers game the whole night. But yeah, I mean, they're playing the Panthers this week, and it's kind of I don't want to say it's a similar situation to this past week, but it kind of is because the Panthers are an awful team. They've got PJ Walker starting. They've got an interim head coach in Steve Wilkes after they fired Matt Rule. They just traded Robbie Anderson after they kicked Robbie Anderson off the sideline for throwing a fit. There's rumors swirling around, trade rumors with Christian McCaffrey, Brian Burns, DJ Moore, all their best players. It's a mess. It's a tough situation. But is this another trap game? I mean, it's just tough. But yeah, I mean, we'll start with kind of overall thoughts on the Panthers. Just, it's the first matchup between these two teams. Just overall thoughts on the Panthers so far, what to look for in the game. Zach, we'll start with you. How are we feeling going into this matchup?
I'm feeling very just neutral at this point. I want to stay positive, and I want to be like Tampa's going to kick them, like they're going to dominate, but I just can't bring myself to say Tampa's going to have a dominant game. Not after what we watched last week. There's only one stat that they're better than us in, and that's yards per carry because we're dead last. But they're only averaging 4.4 yards a carry with Christian McCaffrey, who is legitimately one of the best running backs in the league when healthy. So you look at that team and you think, if that's all they are doing better than us, like we should be able to win. We should be able to dominate them. I can't bring myself to say that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't in good conscience confidently say that the Bucs are going to have an easy time tonight or this weekend. So we'll have to see. But Santiago, overall thoughts, first impression. How are we feeling about it?
Well, gentlemen, it's another away game, so it's up in Carolina. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's tough too because their stadium's going to be rocking. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're 1-5. And, we're 3-3, and I agree with. We're just talking about how horrible our team's been playing, and we should dominate like this game. With no problem. But I still believe that we will win. And be 4-3 and make that a positive. So it's tough, man. It's another rival. And like what we said in before the season started, like that we were going to dominate our division. So I still believe like the games between our division rivals, we're still going to beat each and every single one of them. So I mean, let's go Bucs. Come on, man. We gotta. Let's get some positivity in here. Let's go, gentlemen. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, boys. Let's do this.
For sure. I can count on you for some good vibes, Santiago. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean the Bucs should on paper absolutely dominate this game. I already mentioned the PJ Walker factor. I mean, but here's the thing: the Bucs kind of got embarrassed by Mitchell Trubisky. So I don't really want to say too much on that. yeah, I mean, statistically, the Panthers are pretty much bottom 10 and everything. But some key matchups. I mean, are there any key matchups that kind of stand out for you? Some for me is just like the defensive line of the Panthers is really a strong suit for them. They got Brian Burns and Derek Brown, two former first round picks that are really young, super talented. But how about y'all? Do y'all have any key matchups going into this game? Zach, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Obviously, their defensive line is probably their strongest suit. Like
Right.
their best case scenario is we can shut down Brian Burns and we can shut down anyone they have rushing at us. But that's kind of a weakness of ours is our offensive line. So that's a key matchup to me. Also, we got to see what Mike Evans can do against this another realistically very poor secondary.
Right.
So I think that it's kind of the same thing I said last week on defensive backs and wide receivers, but I feel like with last week going the way it did, they didn't prove anything to me. So I think that they need to prove something to all of us by, putting in that work and doing what they have to do against their defensive backs.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you because, like you mentioned, the Panthers don't really have a great secondary. I mean, they've got, Jeremy Chin's okay, but it's a lot of kind of meh. So that's definitely a matchup to watch. Santiago, how about you? What are some key matchups that you're looking for going into Sunday?
Key matchups, gentlemen. Obviously, the big name, Christian McCaffrey, of course.
Sure.
PJ Walker is obviously Baker Mayfield's not going to be playing. So, other than that, looking at other, we have to take down their wide receivers. Rashard Higgins, Terrence Marshall Jr., DJ Moore, to name a few players. They're going to be out there trying to, score points against us. So our, our definitely our defense has to do a good job with stopping them from scoring points. They're going to be pumped up over there, in Carolina because of the fact that we're 3-3.
Right.
They're probably thinking like, oh, the Bucs are coming, they're playing horrible. We're gonna make it even worse and make them go and lose another game. And we have to turn that around, gentlemen. We definitely do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're definitely an underdog in this game. I mean, a huge underdog. So it's definitely something to look for. Yeah, I mean, y'all mentioned Santiago. You did a great job mentioning Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be huge because I mean, like we've mentioned, the Bucs rush defense is not the rush defenses of old. I mean, they're not dominating in the trenches like they used to. Vita Vea has looked a little sluggish. I'm not sure what's up with him. He has not looked great in spots. I would love to see him turn it around because the Panthers' offensive line is very suspect, especially that interior. I mean, they have the first round pick at left tackle that they spent this past year out of NC State. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. So, I mean, now that we're discussing the game and how we think it's going to go, what are some predictions from y'all? Zach, we'll start with you. Predict another Bucs victory, Panthers upset. How are we feeling about it?
So last week I said everything I said was wrong and I predicted a win, right?
Right.
I cannot predict a loss against the Panthers. I just can't do it.
Not in good conscience, no.
Exactly. Like I want to just because everything I say about predictions is usually wrong.
For
But
sure.
I'm going to go, let's say, 28-17 Tampa.
Okay, 28-17 Tampa. I like it. All right, Santiago, how about you? What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going with my score, 27. I'm going to go 27-10 Tampa Bay.
Oh, okay.
All right, 27-10 Tampa. All right, I like it.
Carter.
You can't pick the Panthers. You don't do it. So I'm gonna pick the Bucs, but I'll go 17-14 just because.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know. It's really tough to pick against. It's really tough to pick the Panthers to win, but the Bucs have been playing so poorly,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought for sure the fact that the Falcons almost won that game would rile them up and get them, hungry and ready to go, but it seemed to do the opposite. It seemed to just deflate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for sure the roughing the passer. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Bucs shouldn't have won that game." I thought, "Oh man, the Bucs are going to be pumped. They're going to kick some ass on Sunday," and then they went out and did that. So yeah, I mean, it's tough, but that's my call. 17-14, Bucs are going to win. So yeah, I mean, this kind of brings us to the end of the episode. We've done all of our predictions and all that stuff. So thank you all for so much for listening. RBLR Nation, we wouldn't be here without you. If you're listening, buying the stuff on the shop is nice, but liking and subscribing, that's free. It's easy. Whatever platform you're listening on, Spotify, YouTube, I know there's a billion out there. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a like, giving us a subscribe, we're also all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a shout, Zach, Santiago, thank you all so much for being the best co-hosts in the game. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. And last but not least, as always, go Bucs.
Go
Go
Bucs.
Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.